Just showing a bit of our backyard, I guess. It's not far from us. We live in suburbia, but we're only 5 or 10 minutes and we're already in these sort of rural areas, which is nice being a fringe dweller, as they call us, being on the outside of suburbia. Heading off to a lavender farm for a coffee this morning. And it's nice just to get out and cruise and get familiar with it. I think this might be the place we're looking for. That's the one. There hasn't been an update for a while. It's been winter, so horrible weather. Haven't been able to get out at all and drive. And it's stores in the garage where I cannot shoot around it. It's just too tight. So, since we last spoke, which was just roaring off from my sister's place on a permit, it is now fully engineered and fully registered so not as a street rod. But as a 1948 Willys truck. So it's quite an involved process and a lot of engineering. Every modification basically had to be approved, inspected, tested, brake testing, all that sort of stuff. Had to go to the EPA for noise testing to make sure I passed the legal requirements for a 1948 Willys truck. From the noise point of view, emissions had to be all complete for the engine, so 2008 Hemi. So some of the small things I've done, I've swapped the stainless steel bolts that used to go around that ring just for black powder coated stainless ones, and just to make them more subtle. They're the panhead type ones. I've also swapped the black plastic caps from another wheel that American Racing do for these chrome ones, and I just thought it's less off-road and more classic looking. That's my thoughts anyway, so I just thought it fits in a bit better. So people don't confuse this with a LS Chev. A few people going, oh, has it got an LS in it? And I said, no, it's got a Hemi, and then even the Chev guys are impressed. So I've put this little subtle badge in there, and that helps sort of speak about what's in there. What I just finished putting on yesterday were these extensions here. I machined these up out of some solid stainless, bored them all out, threaded them with this unusual fine thread 16mm tap that I had to buy. And the reason for this is, from memory, it's 5 inches difference from this side, the width from one A pillar to the other, back to the B pillar. So if you stand here directly in line, you can see how much wider that B pillar come out. So the problem was, that's got even wider with the cab extension, and I couldn't clearly see past when I was reversing. Driving in traffic, perfect, but reversing, I needed that little bit extra width each side. So with that 1.5 inch spacer that I've made there, and then screw the mirrors on, and it looks after it quite well. So it's I didn't want to go the big truck mirrors because it's so wide already. I just didn't think, it just looked weird on it by the time everything was finished. So I'll show the compliance plate. Quick unlock here. Sorry for the tractor, I'm on a lavender farm. So that there is, every single one of those codes is something that had to be inspected by the engineer, thank you Jeff Waters, and approved, and everything passed first time. So I just followed the rule book, and unfortunately I had interpreted it correctly, and it all passed the first go. Same with the EPA, same with the roadworthy, and the registration, I just had to prove that it was assembled here in Australia, and that was the only thing I had to go back for, but then it just passed first time. The other thing I've done is I noticed on a test drive that this mirror was shaking a little bit, and that's had the original Willys pressed centre bar, which I was using the Willys mount on that, the original mirror mount, and it wasn't strong enough. So I made it out of solid steel and then shaped it to look like it's the same as, say, the hollow one down here, but it's actually out of solid, and then moved it up higher, which gave better view as well out the back window, and now it doesn't shake anymore when I'm driving along. So it all worked out really well. The only other thing I've done is that I've moved that accelerator pedal down and across. It used to sit all the way over here because normally on the left-hand drive there's a transmission hump that comes on this side, but on the right-hand drive you don't have that. But the pedal still went across, and so there was this awfully big gap, and you'd go to put your foot on the pedal and you would miss the accelerator, or it was twisted and it was uncomfortable. So that made a big difference in the comfort level there. So, but apart from that, everything. Oh, another thing I did. One thing I'd spoken about during the build, I was worried about the fuel going in. Well, the first time I filled it up, you might remember, there's the floor level here. It's actually just below that, and it was too horizontal over the tank. And when you used a service station rather than a jerry can, it would spit back and keep shutting off, and it was just driving me nuts. So what I've done is I welded up the hole in there. I showed a demonstration of how you can metal finish and planish a MIG welded patch. So there was a big round hole here, so you can't even tell. It was right there, and I've moved it to inside the tray here, so that extra bit of height above the tank stops all the kickback, just a bit of spattering that was going on that caused the pump to keep shutting off. So don't forget that there'll be a hard cover over the top of this, and I've also got a drain in the corner here. Just make that hole, that welded stainless steel tube that goes all the way through the floor, and so any spillage will just drain out onto the ground quite harmlessly between the chassis and the outside of the bed there. So I think that's the large of the major things, but everything's been running really well. I've got a check engine light that's come on because it needs a tune for the extractors. It's the air's flowing, the exhaust is flowing that fast with the twin 3-inch, and the oxygen sensor being further downstream from the manifold causes a delay from when it's making an alteration by the computer to when it's reading at the oxygen sensor, and it gets confused. So it's a very common problem when you put long tube headers on these. So that's all, just have to have it tuned and you increase your transport delay, but I haven't got a tuner for that. So it's something it really needs when you start playing with all your intakes and everything anyway. Anyway, I better sign off before I look too ridiculous standing in a car park filming this.